So Costas, I'm interested in the different types of innovation. I think incremental innovation is something that probably people understand because it's said what it is, but then we talk about stretch innovation and game changing. What's the difference between the two and when perhaps are they applicable?
Yeah. It's probably not enough to just think about what the impact is for your customer or consumer, but it's equally important to think about what is the impact for my business across these three levels of innovation. Incremental innovation, the small tweaks, is probably just going to fit in your, let's say, operational ecosphere, just like your existing products. Stretch innovation is slightly different because you're probably stretching into new target audience, maybe into new formats, maybe into new sales channels. Basically, you're changing a little bit more than what the original product was all about. And that has an impact to your business as well, because you may need to find new buyers, you may need to change your whole communication program to, say, switch from talking to women to talking to men, for example, which is a typical stretch you would see. And then game changing changes even more. That's literally starting from scratch and saying, I have an idea for an opportunity. I think there is something we could do for a particular new group of people we're not serving at all yet. And we have to start from a clean slate. So the impact to your, let's say, operational business is huge because everything changes and you need to do everything from scratch. And the question is, when do you do which? And that's actually a very simple thing. Incremental, you do all the time. Whether you're still sort of making prototypes almost and you're at the very start of the S-curve going up, you have to make small improvements all the time. But you do that all the way through to the moment the product goes extinct, basically, at the very end of its life cycle. Stretched innovation, that's probably something you start looking at when you find you're losing on price, when all of a sudden competition around you is strong, or stronger than it used to be, and it's not obvious that you're winning every single battle. That's probably a moment to start, let's say, growing your market into these, let's say, new dimensions, new target audience, new channels, etc. Game-changing innovation, that's really something that, because it's so difficult and such high risk also to your own business, that's something you start looking at the moment you realize that the business you're in, the market you're in, is at complete commoditization. It's at complete sort of end of its maturity S-curve, at the top end. It's when the Six Sigma people come in. If all your innovation projects seem to be about cost saving, that means you actually need a game changer because you're going extinct, basically. So when your back is against the wall, you could say, that's really when you need the game changers, at least when you know when the product has ended or has come to the end of its life cycle.
And how do you build that into an organisation? Because, you know, there are so many organisations we can give where intransigence, whether it's political, whether it's they don't understand the market properly, but, you know, you can things like, you know, Yellow Pages were in the business of search, right? Yeah. And yet the search engines came and killed them, and they almost didn't notice. You know, Amazon was selling books online, and yet Barnes & Noble, the biggest bricks and mortar bookstore in the world, didn't kind of react till quite late. Yeah. So, you know, how do companies build in something to start to understand the market and know when they've got to start to stretch or completely game change or whatever it is?
And so I guess there are two answers. If you are a well-oiled machine as a business and you are a truly successful operational system, then you probably don't want to do any game changing at all, because that's just not going to, it's not going to work. You're just not set up to do this. And if you would set yourself up to do it, you would become a less efficient operational machine. But what you can do is a lot of incremental and good, let's say, stretched innovation, because that kind of still can be fit into the operational system. But if you do it often enough and all the time, you don't need the game changer, because you will, rather than having to do big leaps every, say, 5 years, you can do smaller leaps every year, and you can maintain your relevance, and you can basically incrementally work your way through, let's say, into the new product formats, into the new, say, what otherwise would require a game changer. On the other hand, if you are a not so operationally well-oiled machine, you might as well be the disruptor. And then I'd say focus on the game changer and see if you can disrupt maybe some of those big blue chips and some of the, let's say, the big market leaders who are raking in all the cash that you want.